folks. Uh, I'm Joe Leydon, Cowboys and Indians, and I am speaking today with Mr. Trace Adkins, country music icon, occasional movie character actor, and host of Ultimate Cowboy Showdown. First off, how you doing today, Trace?
I'm well, Joe. Good to see you.
Same here, same here. So tell me, I know that with the lockdown, you haven't been able to go out on concert tours and such. Was it great to get involved with this project again and get out in the great outdoors?
Absolutely, yeah. We were scheduled to shoot it in March, and then of course, COVID thing happened, and then by July we had figured out how to do it. All the Cowboys came in, everybody was tested, then we were pretty much in our bubble there for the next 3 weeks, and so that's how we were able to do it. And had a blast. Went through. It was hot. It was hot. Anybody that knows Texas in July knows that was a challenge in itself. But I'm glad that we got it done and had a great time doing it and got to meet some really uh, very professional and incredible cowhands. So um, it's I think this is going to be a really good season.
I've gotten a chance to preview the first three episodes, and I've got to say it's kind of gripping right from the start. I mean, you've got quite a diverse array of participants and contestants there, and without giving the game away, there's somebody who early on seems to be a rather unpleasant person. Let's put it that way. And by the third episode, though, when inevitably they're told to, pick up their personals and leave, you almost feel a little bit sorry for this person. It's almost like, it's a movie or it's a television drama where this character actually had an arc. Uh, does that ever surprise you? Do you ever make judgments about people when the Cowboys at first, and do they surprise you as the competition progresses?
Yeah, some of them, they may come in and be really cocky and arrogant, and then a couple episodes into it, they get taken down a notch or two, and the reality smacks them in the face, and they realize that they're surrounded by uh, equally competent, qualified professionals, and they start, you know, reality starts looking them in the face, and they get more serious about it. So, and sometimes that is surprising to watch that evolution take place. Uh, but it's still hard because everybody that showed up, everybody that qualified to be a participant in this season of Ultimate Cowboy were professional, qualified cowhands, and so it was hard to let them go. And that's the hardest part of this gig for me. The part that I dislike, the only part that I dislike, is having to fire people and send people.
Does it ever remind you of times in your life when you were fired from jobs?
I don't recall being fired, too often. A couple of times maybe it happened, but I deserved it. So,
Well, maybe you failed auditions, put it that way.
oh, that's you don't even pay any attention to that. The movie roles that I've had, they're 10 times that many that I didn't get. So,
Well, it's funny you mentioned your movie career, and last year, fairly early in the shutdown, the movie you were in was, I believe, the most popular on Netflix, Badland.
oh,
And you had a small but very memorable part, the general. And I gotta say, Trace, I think there are laws in 6 or 7 states against actors enjoying themselves so much in a role like that. Do you enjoy acting?
I do. I get a kick out of it. It's it's something that I liken it to. I try to tell people my favorite thing in the music business are the days that we're in the studio and you're surrounded by six or eight of the most talented musicians in the world, which that's the pool we have to draw from here in Nashville. So it's creativity and everything. It's it's just inspiring and it's motivational. And when you're on a movie set or a television set, you're surrounded by everybody on there. Everybody on the set is very creative and very talented, and it's stimulating, and I really do enjoy it.
Now you have another movie coming up. Was it Apache Junction with the same director as Badland?
Yeah, yeah. I got to do, I think I did four movies last year. People found ways to get around the COVID thing or to work within those guidelines. And so, yeah, I did, since we couldn't do live shows, I just did more movies last year.
Hmm. What do you miss the most about touring right now?
Oh, that energy that you feel when you go out on stage. The audience is just, you know, pouring that energy on you and you try to give it back to them and that relationship that you have with that live audience. I mean, that's what I miss the most.
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh. So, going down to Texas in the heat and riding herd on the Cowboys, uh, did you ever, get the temptation? Well, let me see if I can go out there and, you know, rope a steer or a calf or.
No, these days, my main job is to stay in the saddle. So I'm not going to do too much that where I might end up hitting the ground because I'd probably bust all to pieces. So uh, I don't feel too tempted to try to get in there and compete with those guys. I'll tell you that.
Well, they say, wise man knows his limitations. Um, you mentioned, the most difficult thing about firing people was, did you ever have second thoughts? Was there ever times that, you had to let somebody go and then maybe the next day you thought, oh, wait, this other person is much worse. Maybe I should have let this person go.
No, I don't recall feeling that way the next day. I mean, some of the decisions that I had to make and some of the choices that I had to make was really nip and tuck, and I mean, it had to get down to the nitpicking on some of those decisions, who was going to stay and who was going to go, because, like I said, they were all eminently qualified. So it really got tough to make some of those decisions. But I don't recall making um, letting somebody go and then regretting it, the next day and thinking that I made the wrong choice. I don't recall feeling that way.
Mhm, mhm. Well, we've got some questions that have been sent in by fans. Uh, Tell us about the horse you're riding on Ultimate Cowboy Showdown. Is that your personal horse?
No, 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 no. That was one that provided to me down there in Texas, and he was a good horse. Did everything I wanted to do on him, and uh, the best thing I've done enough movies, I've done enough Western snow. A lot of times, the best horse that you're going to get for something like that is a horse that'll stand still.
Mhm, mhm,
His biggest job. Be still, when I want you to be still, stay there, so that they don't have to keep trying to follow me around and they know where I'm going to be. And you know what? He had that down. He could stand still. I swear to God, I could get off that horse and walk away and he'd stay right there. And you know what I mean? He was a good television horse. He was good.
Well, that raises the question: do you get to use your own horse in your Western movies?
No, usually they're far away and you know. I don't get to do westerns around here, so yeah, I'm not gonna haul a horse that far.
uh, what made you decide to take part in this series in the first place?
It was just something I and Andrew Glassman and I go way back. We had an idea similar to this. Oh shoot, it was probably 6 or 8 years ago when we first started talking about doing a show like this. It was right after I'd finished uh, the All Star Celebrity Apprentice, and I started talking to Andrew about doing a show like this, and it finally came to fruition a couple of years ago. And it was just something that he and I have been talking about for a long time. And Inspiration Network stepped up to the plate and gave us a platform, and we haven't looked back.
Another question from your fan that sent in to us. And this is something I was thinking about while watching the show. Do you think, based on your experience with the show, uh, do you think that a woman is just as able as a man to handle such a rough and tough job as ranching?
Absolutely, absolutely. The ladies that were on the show this year were uh, absolute professionals, and I wasn't surprised by that. Um, and they stepped up and showed the boys up a few times.
Yeah, not to give the game away again, but early on in the series, a lady gets into an altercation with the calf. Let's put it that way, and that really makes for a certain amount of suspense because you don't know if she's going to make it back from the ER, do you?
She got hurt. She got hurt. You know what? But she cowboyed up, and she was there the next day. And my hat's off to her. Yeah, she's tough. I shouldn't
Uh,
have
no, go ahead, please.
I shouldn't have given that away.
Well, that we'll just pretend that we didn't hear that. What do you think is the most important ability for a person to have if he or she would like to compete in the Ultimate Cowboy Showdown? And I'm not asking for myself because last time I got on a horse, the horse turned around and said, "Hey, one at a time." So, uh,
I would have to say, of course, along with all the skills that you need to bring, you better bring a really good dose of a really good helping of self confidence because that's what it's going to take. I mean, because everybody that competes on this show, there are going to be times when you weren't at your best that day, and a lot of it sometimes has to do with luck. You know, you just got dealt a bad hand that day. So you're going to have to really continue to believe in yourself and believe that you belong there and believe that you can still win. And I think that that's probably um, the quality that's going to serve them best is just that unshakable belief in themselves that they can still hang around and do this because there are going to be days when you could really get down and think you should probably just cash in and go home. But that's when the tough really stand up, and uh, that's what it takes. I think self-confidence.
were you, as an observer, a bystander, were you ever scared at any point watching these folks compete and really taking some nasty spills sometimes?
This is the real deal, and every day. I mean, these folks were in competitions with one another that somebody, but this is what these guys do every day. I mean, everybody thinks that the cattle industry these days has become this industrial, and it is, but there are still things that a cowhand on horseback has to do with a lariat, and there ain't no way around it. There's no other way around it. I mean, they still have to do that. And anytime you get on top of a half horse, weighs half a ton, and you're running wide open, swinging a rope over your head, bad things can happen, and they deal with that every day. So you got to have plenty of guts to do this for a living, uh, and they've got that in spades.
Do you ever look at that person or the other person on horseback roping and riding and think, I could make a living doing that too? Or do you think, thank God I don't have to make a living doing that?
Absolutely. Well, that's the man. I thank God I don't have to, but there was a day when I could have. Those days are gone now. But I have the utmost respect for these men and women. It was an amazing group of people to spend time with and watch them work. And I have an even greater appreciation now than I did before for what they do for a living and how they live their lives and the code that they live by. I'm even more in awe than I was before.
Well, like you, I'm a Louisiana boy, and I've known a lot of people over the years who've worked on the oil rigs. That's a pretty grueling job too. Do you see any similarities between, being an oil rig worker and being a cowboy?
Well, it's the ethic, the work ethic. I mean, working on a drilling rig, yeah, I did a good job today, and I can kind of pat myself on the back. But guess what? I got to get up tomorrow morning and I got to do it again. You can't rest on your laurels. You can't, you know, be satisfied with how good a job you did yesterday because you got to get up and do it again tomorrow. You got to do the same thing again tomorrow. You got to do it day after day after day, rain or shine, hot or cold. It doesn't matter. And that's very much like what these folks are faced with on a daily basis. It doesn't matter how good you did today. You got to get up and do it again tomorrow.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Well, there are also dangers associated with both lines of work.
Yeah, the first time I got hurt in the oil field, a tool pusher was taking me to the hospital, and he said, "Look, you're not. I don't." He said, "I don't know anybody that's worked longer than 5 years in this business without getting hurt. You know, bad
Mhm.
had to make a trip to the hospital." Yeah, it was a dangerous job. I don't think it's quite as dangerous these days, but it's still we still are reminded from time to time. Some catastrophe will happen in the oil field, and unfortunately, there will be loss of life, and it is still a dangerous. It's a dangerous occupation.
A couple of other questions from fans. Uh, Now, this is something I have to admit I've never thought about before. When you're on the road touring, do you ever get inspired by your fans' stories to write new songs? Are we, your fans, an inspiration to you in that regard?
Oh, I hear stories all the time, and you know, I say most songs come from something you heard somebody else say, but I don't know. All of them might come from something that a songwriter hears somebody else say, or a situation that they see somebody else in. Um, we are just observers, and we write it down and try to make it rhyme. And uh, most of those great ideas come from somewhere else.
Uh, of all the songs you've written, which one is your favorite?
Oh my, that's a
That's
tough
like asking you who your favorite child is, I admit, but yeah.
that all the time. It's people ask, "Oh, what's your favorite song?" And I was like, that's like asking me which one of my kids is my favorite. I may have one, but I'm not going to tell you which one it is. The other ones will hear about it and be mad about it, so I'm not going to tell you. Every one of these songs, every song that I've ever recorded, I did the very best that I could do on it. I put my heart and soul into it, and I'm not going to I'd be hard pressed to pick one, to be honest with you.
I've talked to various artists, musical artists in various genres over the years, about how surprised or shocked they were on some occasions when they heard their music, their recording. Like I remember Sting once telling me he was in an elevator and he heard one of his songs. And at first he was kind of, oh gosh, and then he thought, well, sounds pretty good even in the elevator, I guess. Can you imagine? You remember a time when you were in public, whether it be in an elevator or at a party or driving down the highway, and you heard one of your songs and you were, you know, maybe surprised, happily surprised.
It happens from time to time, uh, I the very first time though is the most memorable, of course, I think to any artist. I was on my radio tour and it actually happened in Shreveport, Louisiana, which was my hometown radio station when I was growing up.
Mm.
So I had gone there with a Capitol Records representative, and we went in and hand delivered my first single to the radio station there in Shreveport. And then we left and we got in the car, and we hadn't even gotten out of the parking lot yet, and they played it on the radio, and we just
Oh,
sat there in the car and listened to my very first single on the radio in the car being played by my hometown radio station, and it was perfect. I mean,
oh man, hometown boy makes good.
it couldn't happen a better way.
When do you think you will be back on the road touring?
You know, I don't know. Actually, I had dates on the books for March, and then the closer we got to them, they got canceled. And I had dates on the books for April, and then they went away. So people are being very optimistic and they're booking dates, but then and they're very hopeful that this is going to happen. And then we get a little closer to them, they realize they're not going to be able to pull it off, and they cancel them. I still have dates on the books for May, and then the summer looks pretty good. But whether or not we're actually going to be able to do those shows, I can't tell you. I know I have dates on the books. Whether or not they're going to happen, I don't know.
Are you ever, or are you right now ever just able to spend any time in the recording studio?
That's all we've been doing, along with everybody else in Nashville. That's what everybody's been doing. When this thing is finally over, there is going to be a flood of new music coming out here because we have found a way to record. The studios in this town are big enough that we can get in and socially distance and do our thing. So everybody's been in the studio, and I'm no exception. And we've got 25 brand new songs that we're putting on an album to come out this year because I'm celebrating my 25th anniversary. So we had plenty of time. So we just recorded 25 new songs. And I'm looking forward to getting it out so people can listen to it.
Let me see if I can come up with a new variation of an old question. Now, you say you've been in, your career's been going now for 25 years. What would you tell younger Trace Adkins when he was starting out now?
Just be patient. There's nothing that you can do to make this thing move any faster than it's going to move. That was the hardest thing coming from the oil field where everything is reach and get it. I mean, it's wide open all the time. Uh, and then you get to a business like this where, you know, the speed at which this thing's going to move is not up to you. And so you just have to be patient. And that'd be the thing that I'd tell myself 25 years ago.
A couple of final questions about Ultimate Cowboy Showdown. Uh, what, without giving any games away, what would you advise viewers to pay particularly close attention to in the early episodes because there's some kind of payoff later?
What I think they should really pay attention to is the business savvy that all these men and women have. This show is not just about how good you are on horseback or how good you are with a rope. all that kind of stuff. We go into the business end of the cattle industry, and these people are really sharp. And I think people should pay special attention to the intellect of these cowboys and cowgirls. I mean, they're really sharp business people, and we put them through their paces in that arena too. So I think folks should really pay attention to that part of it.
Because there's quite a diversity of contestants, and I notice, you don't shy away from, the obvious. You have some of the women talking about how sometimes it's difficult for them to compete in a seemingly male world. You've got a couple of the black cowboys talking about racism they've encountered. Uh, it really is a very, in one of the better terms, a very full-bodied study of all of these people.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was on equal footing here in this deal. We didn't, everybody had to man up, so to speak, and show up every day and compete with everybody else. And uh, this thing had so many different levels of competition in different areas. Like I said, business savvy and uh, all kinds of things. Judging cattle, not just herding cattle. So everybody had a chance to shine in every particular uh, part of this business. So everybody had a great shot at winning this thing, and we had 14 really competent, very professional cowhands when we started out, and it was a tough competition, and I was impressed every day.
Well, Trace, so we've got some new music to look forward to from you. We've got a new movie, Apache Junction, and we've got a few weeks of Ultimate Cowboy Showdown. And I already, like I say, watching the first three episodes, I'm already picking sides. I got to say, I'm not laying any money down yet, but who knows? Uh, you've really got a lot on your plate right now. Is there anything I'm overlooking? Is there anything else, another project you've got coming up that you're looking to surprise us with?
I think you covered pretty much all of it.
Well, I think it's time you take a little rest right now. So thank you for spending time with us, and continued good fortune. And out there, folks, you want to see a gripping true life drama with a welcome dose of humor now and then? Ultimate Cowboy Showdown with Trace Adkins.
Been my pleasure, Joe. Thanks. Good to talk to you again.
Figure. Take care.